From about 17 weeks or 18 weeks, my stomach started to get really big. But, of course, not ever having twins before, we didn't realise that this wasn't normal. And we didn't find out that something was really wrong until we had our 19-week ultrasound. When the specialist came in, he said to us that there was something wrong and that some very serious decisions would have to be made about this pregnancy.
Kim and Tony's doctor informs them their twins have developed a rare and very serious condition called twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome.
We had absolutely no idea about twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome. We'd never heard of it before, so we were trying to come to grips with what that was. He said we were lucky that we're in Brisbane because there are some very, I think he said, very clever people over at the Mater Hospital.
So you on there? Oh, big yawn.
Kim and Tony are referred to Dr. Rob Sincotta at Brisbane's Mater Hospital.
Twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome is a complication that affects identical twins. About 10% or 10-15% of identical twins will have a pattern of blood vessels such that it's easier for blood to go from one twin to the other and not for it to come back. And with time that leads to a chronic blood loss from one twin to the other.
The swelling that Kim's experiencing is caused by the transfusion syndrome. If untreated, she'll go into early labour and lose both her twins.
I think we were starting to understand a little bit more about what we were confronting, but through learning about it, it was starting to look particularly grim.
That's the blood flow from the baby through the cord to the placenta. About a decade ago, we realised that if we drain the fluid off and try to keep it to a normal fluid volume, we could prolong the pregnancy. But we noted that those babies that did survive were often born very, very sick and unwell, and a lot of these babies, anything up to a quarter of the babies that did survive, had major long-term handicaps or brain damage.
With these grim prospects, Dr. Sincotta lays out the options for Kim and Tony.
We could have had amniotic reduction, which would obviously have made my stomach smaller, but it still wasn't fixing the problem. So this transfusion was still happening. And the other option was obviously do nothing, but that really wasn't an option. We didn't feel that that was the right thing to do. And the third option was surgery, which was something that was quite new.
Some years earlier, Rob Sincotta and his colleagues committed to finding a better solution for parents like Kim and Tony.
About 4 years ago, we went off overseas to learn a new treatment where they pass a laser fibre down into the uterus, which is only a couple of millimetres in size, and then burn those vessels, which in fact were the cause of the problem, and stop the transfusion process. And they were showing that the results were better than what we were seeing before with the current treatment, and intriguingly, the longer-term outcomes seemed to be better.
As we were discussing the options we had with Rob Sincotta, I think we gathered fairly quickly that we would need to make a decision within a matter of days, if not a day or so. When we got home, I think we were still shell-shocked. So we sat down and we had a fairly unusual evening trying to work out what on earth we were going to do.
We felt that we really needed to take a direct approach in our decision-making, and really we sat down with a pen and paper.
We sort of put all the options that we had open to us on the back of a pizza box, and I think we had fairly quickly decided that the treatment option would be the laser ablation procedure. If it was successful, it was going to treat the cause of the problem, not just relieve the symptoms, and that was significant for us.
I'd never had surgery before or been under a general anaesthetic, so the thought of that was a little bit daunting. But with the surgery, it was all done by ultrasound.
I think ultrasound, and I can only describe it as a camera stuck on the end of a laser. And I have absolutely no idea how they can tell what's what, but they obviously know exactly what they're doing.
That procedure went quite smoothly and they made a wonderful recovery. All the evidence of the twin result disappeared after the laser procedure, as we expected to have.
I went into labour at 32 weeks, and it was the same day as our son Nicholas's birthday.
His fourth birthday.
His fourth birthday. This was the best outcome we could have hoped for.
I've been looking after women with twin transfusion syndrome for over a decade now, and the first time we did this laser and you saw a baby with heart failure have that disappear and go back to normal, I didn't think it was possible, and I felt like running around the hospital jumping for joy, crying eureka. The ultrasound shows that all the 3 babies are growing quite normally and they're quite happy, good size for this number of weeks.
Good.
And so the other thing is we're getting people from all around the country now, and we've got several times more cases than anyone else in the country put together. So that makes you feel really, really good that you can actually help all these people around the country, and things have just so dramatically changed in the last 3 years.
Boys are both very, very fit and healthy. They're now 14 months old.
We've just had their 12-month check-up through the growth and development with them at hospital, and they're very happy with them. And it is like a family, isn't it? It's like a closeness when we go back to visit them. They know what we've been through, and I guess they sort of go through the emotional roller coaster ride a bit with you, so it's always nice to go back and see them.